Have you ever imagined what would happen if you completely lost control at a company party? Olivia was the responsible employee, organized, who never stepped out of line. Until the night she drank too much, cornered him against the wall, and whispered, "I've wanted you for months." In a few seconds, everything she had built began to crumble. And now I ask you, does this end in dismissal, scandal, or something much more complicated? Stay with me until the end, because this story will deal with power, desire, secrets, and consequences that no one was prepared to face. If you enjoy this content, strengthen the channel, subscribe, leave your like and comment below. Your interaction is what motivates us to bring more and more stories. Olivia looked at herself in the company bathroom mirror and sighed deeply. The year-end party had already started an hour ago, and she was still there trying to gather the courage to go down. She wasn't the type of person who enjoyed these get-togethers. She would much rather be at home in her pajamas, watching some silly series. But Milena, her coworker, had practically begged her to show up. "Just an hour, Olivia. You can't spend the whole year being the office goody two-shoes and not even show up at the party," Milena had said that morning with that dramatic way of hers. And there she was, wearing a simple black dress she had bought in a hurry at the mall. Nothing too flashy, just enough not to look completely out of place. She took a deep breath once more and left the bathroom, going down the stairs that led to the event hall the company had rented. The place was packed, loud music, people laughing, groups scattered everywhere. Olivia felt her stomach tighten. Definitely, this was not her place. She grabbed a glass of champagne that a waiter was offering and went to lean against a more secluded corner, just observing. "I thought you wouldn't come." Milena appeared beside her, already visibly animated. "Drink that quickly and relax a bit, woman. You look like you're at a funeral." Olivia gave an awkward smile and took a sip of champagne. It was good, much better than she expected. She took another sip and another. Milena brought up the subject about colleagues' office gossip, and Olivia gradually relaxed. When she realized it, she was already on her third glass. "Careful, huh?" Milena joked. "Soon you'll be climbing on the table to dance." "Not even dead," Olivia laughed. But the truth was, she already felt her head lighter, her body looser. Maybe this party wasn't so bad after all. That's when she heard it. John Lacerda, the company's CEO, was on the other side of the hall, talking with a group of executives. Impeccable navy blue suit, perfectly aligned hair, that confident smile she had seen so many times in the company corridors, but always from afar, always with that safe distance between boss and employee. But that night, with champagne running through her veins, the distance seemed smaller. Olivia realized she had been looking at him for too long. And worse, he had noticed too. John's eyes crossed with hers for a second, and something strange happened in Olivia's stomach. It wasn't just the alcohol, it was something else. "Whoa, careful with that look," Milena nudged her, laughing. "Are you flirting with the boss?" "What? Of course not." Olivia quickly looked away, feeling her face heat up. But it was a lie. She knew it was a lie, because in recent months, every time John passed through the corridor, she felt that butterflies in her stomach. Every time he asked for some report, she stuttered like a teenager. Every time he smiled at her, even if it was just politeness, she spent the rest of the day thinking about it. "I'm going to get more champagne," Olivia announced, somewhat awkwardly. "Go easy, okay?" Milena laughed. But Olivia didn't go easy. She grabbed another glass and another. The party got livelier, the music louder, and she got braver. At some point during the night, she saw John heading toward the corridor that led to the bathrooms alone. It was as if something inside her awakened. A liquid courage, mixed with months of repressed desire. Before she could think straight about what she was doing, Olivia put her glass on the table and followed in the same direction. The corridor was empty and silent, completely different from the chaos of the hall. John had his back turned, fiddling with his phone. Olivia felt her pulse accelerate, but didn't stop. She walked up to him determinedly. "John," she called, her voice coming out huskier than intended. He turned, surprised. "Olivia, is everything okay?" It wasn't, or rather, everything was absolutely out of control, but she didn't care. She took another step toward him, gently pressing him against the wall. His eyes widened, but he didn't pull away. "You know what I want?" Olivia murmured, so close she could smell his cologne. A mixture of woody with something citrus that made her even dizzier. "What?" John's voice came out low, hoarse. She moved even closer, her lips almost touching his ear. "I've wanted you for months." The silence that followed seemed to last an eternity. Olivia felt his body tense, his breathing heavier. For a moment she thought she had made the biggest mistake of her life. But then John turned his face, his eyes fixed on hers, dark and intense. "You been drinking?" he said. But it didn't seem like an accusation. It seemed like a statement. "I have," she confirmed, without looking away, "but I know exactly what I'm saying." John ran his hand over his face, clearly trying to maintain control, but Olivia saw when he lost the battle. She saw it in his eyes, in the way he pulled her by the waist, in the way he kissed her with an urgency that caught her completely off guard. The kiss was intense, desperate, full of months of unresolved tension. His hands in her hair, hers clutching his suit. When they finally separated, both were breathless. "My apartment is nearby," John said, his voice hoarse. "Let's go." Olivia just nodded, unable to form words. They left discreetly through the side exit. No one noticed. On the way to his car, she still tried to process what was happening. But when he opened the door for her, when he looked at her that way, all rational thought disappeared. John's apartment was exactly as she imagined. Modern, minimalist, with an incredible view of the city, but she barely had time to notice the details. As soon as the door closed, they lost themselves in each other again. That night was intense. It was passionate. It was everything Olivia had imagined, and much more. Hours later, when she finally collapsed, exhausted in his arms, the last thing she thought before falling asleep was that maybe, just maybe, this had been the best mistake of her life. The morning light was beginning to enter through the large windows of the apartment when Olivia finally closed her eyes. Still feeling the warmth of John's body next to her, still processing the wonderful madness that had just happened. The sunlight coming through the window was the first thing Olivia noticed. The second was the throbbing headache. The third was absolute panic when she opened her eyes and recognized exactly where she was, in John's apartment. She sat up in bed slowly, trying not to make noise. She looked to the side and saw John still sleeping, his face relaxed, one hand thrown over the pillow. He was beautiful like that, vulnerable, so different from the serious CEO she saw every day. But the charm didn't last long. The memories began to arrive in waves, her pressing him against the wall, saying those bold words, the kisses, hands everywhere, the way they had lost themselves in each other during the entire night. "My God," she murmured to herself, bringing her hands to her face. "What have I done?" She got out of bed as silently as possible. Her clothes were scattered on the bedroom floor, mixed with his. She dressed hurriedly, trying not to make noise. Checking her phone, which showed it was already past 8 a.m. on a Saturday, she looked at John one more time. Part of her wanted to stay, wanted to be there when he woke up, wanted to face the situation head on, but the rational part, the always proper Olivia, went into total panic. "I'm going to be fired," she thought, grabbing her purse. "I harassed my boss. I slept with my boss. My career is over." She left the apartment silently, closing the door carefully. She called an Uber and spent the entire trip to her house, mentally reviewing each fragment of the previous night. Feeling the shame grow with each memory, the weekend was torturous. Olivia alternated between looking at her phone, waiting for some message from John, and praying that he wouldn't get in touch. She thought of 1,000 scenarios. Him firing her by email, him holding a formal HR meeting on Monday, him simply ignoring that anything had happened. On Sunday afternoon, a notification made her jump from the couch. A delivery. She ran to the door and found a huge bouquet of flowers without a card saying who sent it, but she knew. She grabbed her phone and saw the message that had arrived along with the delivery notification. "Yesterday was unforgettable. I need to see you outside of here. Please, give me a chance to talk. John." Olivia sat on the couch, holding the phone with trembling hands. He wanted to talk. He wasn't angry. He wasn't going to fire her, or at least he wasn't going to do it by message. She spent the rest of Sunday debating internally whether she should respond or not. 3 more messages from him arrived. I know you must be thinking 1,000 things, but nothing that happened was wrong. Can we have coffee? Talk properly? Olivia, please, don't leave me in the void. On Monday, she arrived at the office with her stomach in knots. She had spent half an hour choosing her outfit, wanting to look professional, wanting to seem like everything was normal, that this had been just another ordinary Monday. She avoided the executive elevator, avoided passing near John's office, avoided even looking in the direction of the upper floor. Melina noticed immediately. You're strange today. Did something happen over the weekend? No, nothing. Just tired. You look like someone who didn't sleep. I didn't sleep very well. 3 p.m. When Olivia thought maybe she could survive the entire day without running into John, the internal phone rang. It was his secretary. Olivia, Dr. John needs to speak with you. Can you come up now? The air disappeared from her lungs. Now, yes, please. He said, it's important. Olivia hung up, her hands sweating cold. This was it, the moment she had feared so much. She saved the file she was working on, smoothed her skirt, took 3 deep breaths, and went up. The executive floor corridor was silent. Olivia passed by the secretary's desk, who just waved, indicating she could enter. She knocked on the door. Come in. His voice came from inside, and Olivia felt a shiver. She opened the door slowly. John was standing near the window, his back turned, hands in his pockets. When he heard her enter, he turned. For a few seconds it seemed like hours. They just looked at each other. Close the door, he asked, and she obeyed. Sit, he indicated the chair, but his voice was different, softer, less formal. Olivia sat on the edge of the chair, clutching her purse in her lap, not knowing where to look. John approached, leaning on the desk in front of her. Not threateningly close, but close enough for her to smell that same cologne from Friday. You ran away? He said, without beating around the bush. I thought it was better. Why? Olivia swallowed hard. Because I drank too much, did something completely inappropriate, and thought it would be better to leave before making everything even more embarrassing. Do you regret it? The question caught her by surprise. She looked at him, at those eyes that observed her with an intensity that left her breathless. I don't know. Maybe I should regret it, but do you regret it? He insisted. No, she admitted quietly. But I'm afraid of what this means. You're my boss. I'm your employee. There are all the rules in Olivia, he interrupted her, crouching down a bit to be at eye level with her. I didn't call you here to talk about rules. I called you because I can't stop thinking about you since Friday. She blinked, confused. What? You surprised me. That version of you, so different from the professional Olivia I see every day? I was fascinated. He paused. And I know this is complicated. I know all the problems this can cause, but I need to be honest with you. Olivia held her breath. I want to get to know you for real, John continued. Not here, not in this context, but out there, away from the roles we play within this company. Just John and Olivia, 2 people who clearly feel something for each other. You want to get to know me? Olivia repeated, still processing. I do. Can we have dinner today? Somewhere discreet, far from here? Just to talk, no pressure. Olivia should say no. Should be sensible. Should remember all the reasons why this was a terrible idea. Okay, she heard herself say. We can have dinner. The smile John gave lit up his entire face. Really? Far from here. Very far. I promise. I'll send you the address. At 8. When Olivia left his office, her legs were still shaking, but it was no longer from fear. It was from anticipation, from curiosity, from a strange and new feeling that maybe, just maybe, all this craziness could turn into something real. She returned to her desk, trying to maintain a neutral expression, but inside she was a whirlwind. Melina passed by her and frowned. You have a weird look. Did something happen up there? No, Olivia led. Just a conversation about work, sure, Melina said, clearly not believing but didn't insist. The rest of the day passed in slow motion. At 6 p.m., Olivia received the message with the restaurant address. It was in Niterói, on the other side of the bridge, far enough not to risk running into anyone they knew. She went home, changed clothes about 4 times, and at 7:30 was on her way, nervous, anxious, but also strangely excited. Maybe this was crazy. Maybe it was the biggest mistake of her life. But for the first time in a long time, Olivia was willing to take the risk. The restaurant John chose was small, cozy, and definitely not the type of place where they would find anyone from work. Olivia arrived a few minutes late, having changed clothes 3 times before leaving home. John was already there, sitting at a table in the most secluded corner. When he saw her, he stood up with a smile that seemed genuinely relieved. "I thought you were going to back out," he said, pulling out the chair for her. "I thought about it about 20 times on the way," Olivia admitted, sitting down. He laughed. "Honesty, I like that." The dinner started tense. Olivia could barely look at him without remembering Friday, without feeling that heat rising up her face. But John had a way of making her comfortable. He told funny stories about business trips that went wrong, made jokes about himself, and gradually she relaxed. "Wait, you actually fell in the river during a meeting with Japanese investors?" Olivia asked, laughing. "I fell in my suit and everything. They thought it was some kind of Brazilian ritual." John rolled his eyes, but was smiling. "They never invited me to anything again." Olivia laughed so hard she almost choked on her wine. "You're making this up?" "I swear I'm not. I have the photos to prove it." Extremely embarrassing photos. It was strange to see him like this, so different from the serious and controlled CEO she knew. There he was, just John, a funny, intelligent, surprisingly humble man. "And you?" he asked, leaning forward a bit. "Tell me something about you that I don't know." "Well, practically nothing about me," Olivia pointed out. "Exactly. So tell me." She thought for a moment. "I play guitar. Badly, but I play." "Really? What kind of music?" "MPB mainly. My dad taught me when I was a child. He said I was going to be a star." She smiled at the memory. Clearly he was wrong, but it was fun to try. John smiled. "I want to hear it someday, only if you're prepared for a horror show." "I'm prepared for anything coming from you." The way he said that, looking into her eyes, made something stir in Olivia's chest. She looked away, grabbing her wineglass to disguise it. After that first dinner, others followed, always in different places, always far from the company. They arranged strategic times. Sometimes Olivia left work early, claiming a doctor's appointment or personal problems. Other times they met on weekends in neighboring cities where no one knew them. In the office, they maintained the usual professional distance, or tried to, because it wasn't so simple to pretend indifference when you knew the taste of the other's lips. In a board meeting where Olivia had to present reports, their eyes crossed for half a second longer than they should. She completely lost her train of thought. "Sorry, can you repeat the question?" she asked the CFO, feeling her face heat up. Melina, who was in the same meeting, looked at her curiously. Another time in the elevator, Olivia entered without realizing John was already there. They were alone for 10 floors, in absolute silence, so close she could feel his warmth, but unable to do anything. "Good morning," he said formally when she entered. "Good morning," she responded equally formally. But when the elevator stopped and she left, he held the door for a second and murmured so low you could barely hear, "You look beautiful today." Olivia felt her heart race, but didn't turn, just kept walking, biting her lip to keep from smiling. The meetings became more frequent, and with them the connection between the two grew exponentially. Dinners turned into long conversations until dawn. Walks in the park turned into hidden kissing sessions behind trees. Movie trips ended with them completely forgetting the film. "I don't even know what the movie was about," Olivia admitted, laughing when they left the dark theater. "There was a movie playing?" John joked, intertwining his fingers with hers as soon as they reached the empty parking lot. But they hesitated to go beyond that, as if both knew that crossing that line again would change everything definitively. Make it too real, too complicated. "We need to be careful," Olivia said one night, when they were sitting on the pier of a coastal town 2 hours away. "If someone finds out I know," John agreed, but squeezed her hand tighter. But it's worth it. You're worth it. Shh. She looked at him, illuminated only by the pier lights and the moon, reflecting on the sea. I've never done anything like this before, she confessed. Lying, hiding, making up excuses. Do you regret it? He asked, turning to face her. Olivia thought for a moment. She thought about the lies to Milena, the lame excuses, the constant fear of being discovered. And then she thought about the laughter, the conversations, the way she felt alive when she was with him. No, she answered honestly, not at all. John smiled and pulled her closer, kissing her forehead tenderly. Me neither. They stayed there for hours, just talking, laughing, sharing stories. John talked about the pressure of taking over the company to Young, about family expectations, about sleepless nights thinking if he was making the right choices. Olivia talked about the dreams she had left behind to be practical, about the desire to travel the world that she never had the courage to pursue, about the fear of always being just the goody two-shoes, without ever allowing herself to be more. You make me want to be braver, she admitted. You're already brave. You cornered me in a hallway and changed my entire life. He smiled. If that's not courage, I don't know what is. That was the champagne she tried to minimize. It was you. The champagne just gave the final push. When they finally returned to the city that night, it was already past 3 a.m. Olivia arrived at her apartment tired, but happier than she remembered being in a long time. Her phone vibrated with a message from John. I miss you already. Sleep well, Olivia, she smiled, typing back. You too. See you tomorrow at the office, where they would have to pretend to be just boss and employee, where they couldn't exchange lingering looks or knowing smiles, where distance had to be maintained at all costs. But at night, or on weekends, or whenever they could get a stolen moment, they could be just John and Olivia. Two people getting to know each other, discovering each other, falling in love little by little. And for now, that was enough. Complicated, risky, but enough. Olivia put away her phone and went to sleep thinking about him. Already counting the hours until the next secret meeting, until the next moment when they could take off their masks and just be themselves. The message arrived on a Thursday afternoon. Olivia was in the middle of a spreadsheet when her phone vibrated. I have a proposal for you. Weekend at the beach, just to talk without pressure. What do you think? She reread the message 3 times. A whole weekend, together, alone. It was a huge step compared to dinners of a few hours. I don't know if it's a good idea, she typed, but deleted before sending. She thought a bit more and responded, Where? I have a house in Buzios, small, simple. I promise exemplary behavior. Olivia bit her lip, smiling. Exemplary behavior? Well, I'll try. So, will you come? She should say no. Should be sensible. But when had she been sensible, since she cornered him in that hallway? I'll go. But if you leave me stranded on a deserted island, I'll sue. I'll pick you up Friday at 6. On Friday, Olivia left work claiming a trip to visit a sick aunt. Melina made a suspicious face, but didn't ask anything. John had left earlier for external meetings. By this point, they were experts at making up excuses. The beach house wasn't anything Olivia expected. When John said simple, she imagined it was rich people's modesty, but it really was simple. A 2-bedroom house, basic decoration, beautiful view of the sea, nothing ostentatious. This house was my grandfather's, John explained while opening the windows. He bought it when Buzios was still a fishing village. I didn't want to renovate much. I liked to keep it as he left it. It's beautiful, Olivia said sincerely, looking at the wooden deck that led directly to the sand. Make yourself at home. Choose a room. I was serious about the exemplary behavior. She laughed, grabbing her suitcase. I know. They had delivery food for dinner because neither of them knew how to cook properly. They sat on the deck with boxes of Japanese food, listening to the sound of the waves. I needed this, John sighed, resting his feet on the railing. These days have been crazy. The merger with that European company, you know about that? He seemed surprised. I work in the same building as you, remember? People talk. Sometimes I forget you see all of this from the inside. He paused. What else do you hear about me? Olivia smiled. That you're a workaholic, that you don't go out with anyone, that you're kind of mysterious. Mysterious? You don't go to happy hours. Don't post anything on social media. No one sees you at parties. For people, you're like an enigma. John gave a laugh. If they knew I'm here eating Japanese food from boxers with an employee, he's enigma, Olivia completed, and they both laughed. On Saturday, they woke up early and decided to make breakfast together. It was a hilarious disaster. John burned the toast. Olivia let the coffee overflow, and in the end, they ended up eating fruit with yogurt. Clearly, neither of us should appear on a cooking show, he commented. Definitely not. Spent the day at the beach, just the two of them. Olivia couldn't remember the last time she had felt so relaxed. Without worrying about who could see them, without making up excuses, it was liberating. In the afternoon, they returned to the house, and John suggested watching something. They chose a silly movie, but Olivia barely paid attention. She was too aware of how they were sitting close on the couch, their arms touching. You're not even watching, John commented, pausing the movie. I was... Liar. What's the movie about? Olivia opened her mouth to respond and realized she had no idea. Okay, you got me. What were you thinking about? He asked, turning to face her. About how this is strange? Strange bad, or strange different? Different. Good different, she sighed. In recent weeks, we've been seeing each other in hiding, always in a hurry, always worried. And now we're here, calm. And it's real, he completed. It's too real, maybe. John took her hand, intertwining their fingers. Are you afraid? A little. And you? Terrified, he admitted with a smile, but in a good way. They stayed like that for a moment, just looking at each other. And then, without thinking much, Olivia leaned in and kissed him. Different from that first time at the party, different from the stolen kisses at secret meetings, this kiss was slow, deliberate, full of meaning. When they separated, John rested his forehead against hers. Olivia, I know it's complicated. I know there are a million reasons why this shouldn't happen, but I can't pretend I don't feel this. Me neither. He kissed her again, and this time they didn't stop. Hands in her hair, hers clutching his shirt, they got up from the couch, without letting go of their lips, stumbling along the way to the bedroom. It was different from the first night. Olivia was completely sober, completely aware of each touch, each kiss, each moment. And when she woke up the next morning, the sunlight coming through the window and John sleeping next to her, there was no regret, just certainty. He woke up a few minutes later, smiling when he saw her awake. Good morning, he said, his voice still hoarse from sleep. Good morning. Any regrets? He asked somewhat warily. Olivia shook her head. None, and you? The opposite of regret, whatever word that is. She laughed, snuggling into him. Happiness. That, definitely that. They spent Sunday talking about what this meant, about what they wanted, about the risks. We can try for real, John, she said while they walked on the beach. A real relationship, but we need to be careful at work. How are we going to do this? Pretend all day that we don't feel anything? It won't be easy, but I want to try. If you want to too. Olivia stopped walking, turning to face him. I want to, but I need you to understand something. I can't be seen as the employee who's with the boss. I need my work to speak for itself. And it will. You're amazing at what you do. This has nothing to do with us. People won't see it that way, and we wait, keep our distance in there. But out here, he took her hand. Out here, we're just the two of us. John and Olivia. No boss, no employee. Deal. She squeezed his hand. Deal. The return to the city on Sunday night was difficult, as if they were leaving a private world behind and returning to reality. But something had definitely changed between them. John stopped in front of her building. So we'll see each other Monday at work, he said, but his tone was that of someone who didn't want to say goodbye. See you, and I have to pretend you're just my boring boss, Olivia joked. And I have to pretend you're just another efficient employee. I'll probably be terrible at it. He smiled, pulling her in for one last kiss. But we'll try. Olivia entered the apartment feeling a mixture of happiness and apprehension. Things had just gotten much more real, much more serious, and she had no idea how they would manage to keep this a secret. But one thing she knew, she wouldn't trade that weekend for anything. Wouldn't trade John for anything. "So where's this mysterious boyfriend you've been hiding?" Olivia almost spit out her coffee. It was Tuesday morning, and Melina had appeared at her desk with that smile of someone who knows something. "What boyfriend?" "What are you talking about, Olivia? We've known each other for 3 years. You think I don't notice when you're looking at your phone with that silly face, or when you rush out of work all dressed up?" "I don't rush out. Last week, you left at 5 on the dot. You, the woman who lives here until 7? Olivia felt her face heat up. I had an appointment." "Aha. Appointment. What kind of appointment?" "Dentist. Liar. You were wearing high heels and red lipstick. Nobody dresses up like that to go to the dentist." Olivia rolled her eyes, trying to disguise. "Okay, Detective Melina. Maybe I'm going out with someone, but it's recent. I don't want to talk about it yet. I knew it." Melina hit the table excitedly. "Who is it? Do I know him?" "No, liar. You're all awkward, Melina." "Seriously? It's very recent. When there's something more concrete, I'll tell you." Melina pouted but accepted. For now. The lies kept accumulating. For family, Olivia invented an intensive English course that happened twice a week. For coworkers, it was yoga classes. For her best friend from college, a volunteer project at an NGO. "Wait, you're doing English, yoga, and volunteer work?" the friend asked during a call. "When do you sleep?" "I organize myself well," Olivia responded, feeling the guilt tighten in her chest. But it wasn't just her living a double life. John had his own challenges. "Dude, did you become a monk?" Tiago, his best friend and partner, asked during a business lunch. "You refused 3 important dinners this week. What's happening?" "I'm busy with the merger," John lied. "The merger doesn't happen at night." "Are you going out with someone?" "No, liar, you have that look." "What look?" "The one you're making now. Looking at your phone and smiling." John quickly put away his phone. It had been a message from Olivia. "I was almost caught by Melina today. This is getting difficult. Here too," he typed back. "But we can do it." The meetings continued, always surrounded by care and planning, but inevitably absurd situations began to happen. The first near catch was at an Italian restaurant in Niterói. They thought they were safe a bridge away from Rio. They were in the middle of dinner laughing at some joke when Olivia went pale. "What's wrong?" John asked. "Don't look now, but a company supplier just walked in." "Which one?" "Roberto from the printing company. He's coming this way." In seconds they moved away from each other, assuming corporate postures. When Roberto reached the table, he found a perfectly professional scene. "John, what a coincidence." The man greeted animatedly. "Work meeting." "Exactly," John responded seriously. "Olivia was presenting me a report about processes in Niterói. On a Friday night?" Roberto seemed confused. "We took advantage that I had a meeting nearby earlier," John improvised. "Efficiency. You know how it is." Roberto shrugged and went to his table. When he left their field of vision, John and Olivia looked at each other and exploded in muffled, nervous laughter. "Processes," she whispered. It was what came to mind. They finished dinner quickly and left discreetly, but spent the rest of the night laughing about the situation in the car. Another time was even worse. Olivia had spent the night at John's apartment. It was a Saturday, and she had to be at her parents' house at noon for lunch. She was almost leaving when they heard a key turning in the door lock. "Someone is opening your door," Olivia whispered, terrified. "It's my sister. She has a key. I forgot she was going to bring some documents today." "What do I do?" "Go to the bedroom." Olivia ran to the bedroom while John went to intercept his sister in the living room. She stayed there, barely breathing, hearing the muffled conversation. "Why are you so nervous?" John's sister asked. "I'm not nervous." "You are, and you're sweaty." "I was working out, shirtless and in jeans." "It's hot." Olivia covered her mouth to keep from laughing. She stayed there for 15 eternal minutes until she heard the door close. She waited another 5 minutes before leaving the bedroom. She left, he murmured. She did, but it was close. She almost saw your purse there. My God, I almost had a heart attack. John pulled her into a hug, laughing. We're terrible at living in hiding. Terrible indeed. Despite the scares, the near catches, and the increasingly elaborate lies, there was something special about sharing those secrets. Each absurd situation became a private joke between them. Each overcome scare brought them closer. We need to create a code, Olivia suggested one night. Like, if I send meeting confirmed, it means I can't talk. If I send project canceled, it means I'm free. Exactly. It created a whole system of coded messages, discrete signals, and even alternative routes to avoid being seen leaving the building together at work. They maintained the facade. John continued being the serious and focused CEO. Olivia, the efficient and professional assistant. But sometimes they exchanged looks that lasted half a second longer than they should. One day in the cafeteria, a new colleague sat next to Olivia. Do you have a boyfriend? He asked, clearly interested. Melina answered for her before Olivia could open her mouth. She's going out with someone. Yes, oh, too bad. Does he work here? No, Olivia said quickly. He works in another area. From the other side of the cafeteria, John had heard everything. He sent a message. I work in another area, Olivia disguised her smile. Technically, you work on another floor, touche. Later, during a presentation that Olivia was giving to the board of directors, John asked a technical question. She responded professionally, but when their eyes met for a fraction of a second, she saw the amused gleam in them and almost lost her train of thought. Sorry, can you repeat the last part? The CFO asked. Of course, Olivia recovered, avoiding looking at John for the rest of the presentation. Afterwards, he sent a message. I almost made you lose your train of thought. You're impossible. And you're smiling at your phone again? Olivia looked around. Melina was watching with that suspicious look. She quickly put away her phone. Living that double life was exhausting. It was absurd. It was stressful. But when she was with John, when they laughed together at the ridiculous situations they created, when they shared those stolen moments, Olivia knew it was worth it. Each lie told, each scare passed, each second of tension, because for the first time in her life, she wasn't just being the proper and predictable Olivia. She was being brave. She was living. She was falling in love, and even knowing that eventually they would have to make a decision about the future of that relationship. For now, she was happy living in the present, living that delicious secret that was just theirs. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. Her cousin Fernanda's wedding, and Olivia was obligated to bring a date. The whole family was going to be there. Showing up alone meant facing 2 hours of questions about why she was still single. I can't take you, she said to John during dinner. My whole family will ask who you are, what you do, where we met. I know, it's okay, he responded, but Olivia noticed a pang of disappointment in his voice. Sorry. You don't need to apologize. The situation is what it is. We knew it would be complicated. Yeah, he took her hand across the table. Go, have fun, take nice pictures, and send me a message when you can. The wedding was on Saturday at a farm on the outskirts of the city. Olivia put on a light blue dress, did her makeup, and went prepared for a long day of forced smiles and inconvenient questions. It didn't take long to start. Olivia, it's been so long. Aunt Marcia hugged her as soon as she arrived. Where's the boyfriend? I'm single, Aunt. Still. But you're so beautiful. You need to go out more, my dear. Olivia forced a smile and went to look for the table where she was assigned. She sat next to her cousins, who immediately began the interrogation. Nothing new in love? Claudia asked. Nothing. What a waste. Look, there are a lot of single people here. I'm going to introduce you to Gustavo. He's a friend of the groom, no need. Seriously. But Claudia was already waving to someone on the other side of the hall. A tall guy with glasses came in their direction. Gustavo, this is my cousin Olivia. Olivia Gustavo. He was nice, Olivia admitted. They talked during the cocktail hour. He was an engineer, lived in São Paulo, had come especially for the wedding. He seemed genuinely interested in her, asking questions, laughing at her jokes. You look very beautiful today, he said at one point. Thank you, Olivia responded politely, but her thoughts were elsewhere on another person. The cousins were ecstatic. Fernanda, the biggest gossip, started taking pictures of the group, including several with Olivia and Gustavo together. And like any good wedding guest, she posted everything on Instagram. Meanwhile, 200 kilometers away, John was in his apartment trying to concentrate on work. Trying not to think about Olivia at the wedding, alone, meeting people. He couldn't resist and opened her Instagram. Nothing new, but then he saw she had been tagged in some photos. He clicked. The first photo was of the group of cousins. Okay, normal. The second was Olivia laughing at something beautiful. The third was her next to a guy, very close, he, with his hand on her back. John felt something unpleasant turn in his stomach. He scrolled more. More photos. The guy offering her a drink, the two talking, her smiling at him. Who is this guy? He murmured to himself. He grabbed his phone and typed a message to Olivia. How's the wedding? She took 15 minutes to respond. Surviving. Family being family. Seems fun in the photos. Are you stalking my Instagram? She sent with a laughing emoji. John didn't respond immediately. Olivia noticed the tone of the conversation and typed, Are you jealous? No, liar. You can admit it. Okay, maybe a little. Who's the guy in the photos? Friend of the groom. My cousins are trying to push me toward him. Olivia looked at her phone smiling, despite everything. It was almost cute to see John like this. Insecure. Not at all. He's nice, but he's not you. On the other side of the screen, John visibly relaxed. Sorry, I know it's idiotic. It's a bit idiotic, but also kind of cute.